But actually, about team news first of all, whether everyone's come through training and play this week, and in particular whether Christian Romero can play tomorrow.
No. In terms of Christian, he's good to go. We've obviously, he's been in the hands of the medical team, just going through all the protocols. It's a pretty, clearly defined sort of process we needed to go through, and he's ticked all the boxes. He's felt fine all week, to be fair to him, and trained and ready to go. And aside from that, no change from last week.
I'm going to take an educated guess that you don't really follow social media, but the reaction to the Brentford game has been overwhelmingly positive. Spurs fans excited about the side playing entertaining front foot football again, about this new era. Is that buy-in from the fans something you are aware of, and is it important to you?
I'm not all over social media, but I'm well aware when things aren't going well, what it slowly filters through to me. Look, I'm obviously pleased that our supporters and people associated with the club are feeling positive. It was an okay start for us. We're still very early stages of kind of the way we want to play, the way we want to go about things, and I guess the most positive thing to take out of the first game for us was that we had a lot of things sort of go wrong in that first 45 minutes that aren't sort of part of, you can say you're planning in that, we score first, and then the goal scorer and our most experienced, most accomplished defender in a very young back four has to go off, and then you concede a penalty, which, at the time I'm thinking, it was a bit of a harsh one, and then you watch Monday night and that reframes your thinking, and then we concede an own goal from a guy making his debut. So with all those kind of things in that context, you go, geez, it could have gone south really quickly, but I really liked the way the players reacted to it. So that was the most positive thing for me. It wasn't so much our football, because I still think we've got a long way to go there, but we're going to need resilience this year for sure, because there are going to be many times where we're going to get tested, and I thought that was a good sort of early sign for us.
In terms of the transfer activity, is it fair to say that you need to get players out before you even think about getting players in, or do you feel you still need reinforcements in terms of incoming as well?
Well, that's the reality of it. We can't just keep acquiring players. I mean, we've got a too big a squad as it is at the moment, and it affects your training, it affects the players themselves, because ultimately they all want to play and be involved. So, for us, it's not so much one has to happen for the other, but like I said, our focus right at the moment is to try and trim the squad down, and then see where that takes us in terms of reinforcements. We're constantly assessing that on a daily basis, and there's still 2 weeks to go in the window, and I'm sure you'll see some movement.
In terms of areas on the pitch, is it just a striker in particular that you feel as if you maybe need to bring in?
No, not necessarily. I know that's kind of the obvious place people look at because of recent outgoings, but like I said, we've been planning for that for a while. For me, it's just we just got to. There's still areas I think we can strengthen in all our lines, to be honest. Defensively, midfield, up front. But again, that's not just sort of bringing players in for the sake of it. They've got to fit the sort of profile we're looking at. We've purposely gone a bit younger with our sort of recruiting, because we want to build a team here. It's not about sort of putting some finishing touches to something. We're building something here. So that's the kind of profiles we're looking at.
Just finally for me, sorry to have to bring it up, but I'm sure you watched the Lionesses and the Matildas a couple of days ago.
You're really sorry you have to bring it up?
Well, I'm an Irishman, so...
Okay, that's true. Fair enough.
Two things. One, will you now be rooting for England in the final? And two, are you happy if we call that the Ashes decider?
No. The Ashes are done, mate. They're back in Australia, and look, it was a great game, and talking to people back home, it's just the way the whole tournament's been embraced is the most important thing for us. I know, obviously, much prefer we'd won and got to the final, but if you know the sort of the history of football in Australia, we don't have many of these moments where the whole country is looking at the game, let alone the team, the Matildas, the national team, but they're just looking at the game. And for people like me and people who sort of grew up, we got Lynchy back there, who was in your game over in Australia. It's hard, it's hard to get the game in the papers or on TV or any sort of exposure, and it's been wall to wall, which is brilliant, and it's in the middle of the other code season, which again is gold for us. So hopefully it's everlasting. As to who I'll be going for, I live in England now, and as long as it's a great game and a great spectacle, that's all I'll say, mate.
It's incredibly massive.
Yeah, I will be. Yeah.
Alex?
Hi, tomorrow will be the first time you face Manchester United as a head coach. How much are you looking forward to it, and what kind of game are you expecting?
Well, every week will be a first. So, I can't really get up for it because I'll be buzzing all year. So it's a great challenge for us. The most important thing for us is it's our first home game in the Premier League, and obviously last week, like I said, we showed some really good characteristics in terms of our resilience. Tomorrow's about showing a little bit more about football, and hopefully, against a really strong opponent, try and impose our game style. That's got to be our goal every week now, to see if we can improve the way we play our football and make an impact against the best teams. And that's our challenge tomorrow. I'm sure our fans will be up for it, so I'm looking forward to it. So from my perspective, it's more about sort of, we're at that stage where all our focus has to be on us and developing our football.
The work Erik ten Hag is doing at Manchester United has been compared to the work he did at Celtic. How highly do you rate him as a manager? Yeah,
very highly. Obviously followed him from his days at Ajax and previous to that, and he built a great team there, and you can see at Man U he's made an impact at a club where it's been very difficult to make an impact since Sir Alex retired. So it's not the easiest job in the world, and I've got a great respect for him, as I do for all managers. I think to get to this space when you're managing in the Premier League, requires a fair bit of let's just say a body of work to get you to a certain space, and he's earned the right to coach one of the biggest clubs in the world, and I think he's doing a good job.
As you said, your first Premier League game at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. What kind of atmosphere are you hoping for, and do you already feel a strong connection with the Tottenham fans?
Yeah, it'll be. I'm sure it'll be a great atmosphere. We obviously had the friendly game against Shakhtar there, and you can just sense. It's a great stadium, and I'm looking forward to the atmosphere generated by our supporters, and look, I'm at that sort of funny stage of the supporters at the moment have been very, very supportive, but I don't sort of expect that, nor do I feel worthy of it. I've still got to prove myself to our fans and the people at the club by our deeds rather than sort of our words. And at the moment, we're hopefully giving them some sort of belief in what we're trying to create, but we've still got to back that up and improve on a weekly basis. And we need our supporters behind us. There's no doubt about that. We want the Tottenham ground to be a place where the energy is all on our side. So hopefully that happens tomorrow.
You just said that you're in the early stages, the way you want to play. How long do you think it will take to get this team to where you want it to be?
No idea. It doesn't work. If there was an exact timeline, I probably wouldn't be as excited about the prospect as I am, because everywhere I've worked it's taken a different amount of time. There's always been a happy ending, so I take solace in that, but the beginnings are always challenging, and how long they last just depends on the players, the competition, the way we're working. Depends on a lot of things, and I don't put timelines on it, because I just think, as I said, that's the exciting bit for me. You always hope it happens really quickly for many reasons, but I don't put that sort of expectation on the players. It's just about them understanding how we want to play, how we want to behave, and how we want to approach things. And as I said, different stages we'll see it click in.
Just finally, how pleased are you with the new captain and vice captains? Have they stepped up?
Yeah, they've been good. Sonny and look, I think he's been captain of his country for a while now, and he's always had, I think, a fairly sort of position in the game where, you know, he's well respected by friend and foe, you know, so he's one of these kind of players, and I think, you know, he leads by example. He trains hard every day, and I think he's embraced the role, and him and Matters, and obviously Romero. You know, it's theirs now. You know, it's up to them to make it what it is, and I'm sure that they're sort of going through that process now of, you know, really trying to figure out, you know, what kind of leaders they want to be, and the environment, and it's all part of that process. Thank you.
It felt like a new look Tottenham team last week with a style, and there's obviously quite a few new faces making their debuts. I think Spurs fans were pretty excited with what they saw really from all the debutants. Just how happy are you, pleased are you with how quickly the new guys have settled into this team?
Yeah, pleased. You know, in many respects, they've got no choice. You know, that's the life of a professional footballer these days. We don't have a massive tolerance or patience. You know, we expect them to go in and just hit the ground running. And you know, my expectations of them. Again, I kind of work with them every day. Apart from Mickey, obviously, who came in late. You know, with Destiny and Vic and Matters. You know, making their debuts for the club. They've had a really good pre-season, so you know, I was confident, you know, that they would go out there and acquit themselves well. But you know, Mickey was, again, you know, very, very good in the way, you know, he just approached the whole game. I thought he showed a really good temperament for a young guy. I mean, you've got to remember that he's 22, you know, Destiny's 20. So, you know, the fact that they had the temperament in a very difficult venue, and like I said, the way the game went in the first half, I thought they really acquitted themselves well. So that's good signs for us. But I think part of that is also the way the whole group's embracing new players. You know, it's a good environment, and they feel like, you know, they feel comfortable enough to then just concentrate on performing.
And he's not a new player, but maybe it's a new start for Ikasuma in midfield. When he came to the club with a big reputation, I guess for different reasons, maybe didn't live up to that expectation last season. But I mean, he was brilliant, wasn't he, on Sunday? Just how important is he going to be, do you think, moving forward in your team? And is it almost like a fresh start, a new signing for Spurs?
Yeah, no, he was good. You know, still areas, you know, he needs to improve, and we're pushing. But yeah, he was good. He's been good all pre-season. And look, it's the same for all the players. I guess you know, irrespective of how, you know, what your history is, every opportunity, every year offers a new opportunity to establish yourself and make an impact and make your mark. And you know, Biss has that opportunity along with others. I mean, ultimately, you know, it's their careers. There's you know, they're not infinite. They're finite. There's an end date to them, and every year that, you know, they don't want to have too many years where they just feel like they haven't made the impact they want. So you know, he's had a good energy about him. He trains well. You know, I think the way we play does suit him for sure. But you know, still areas he's got to improve. And you know, the great thing is, you know, this week he's taken on that information, and hopefully, you know, he keeps developing.
I know it's only the second game of the season, so you won't want to get too high or too low, whatever the result, but there does seem to be a buzz around the place at the moment. Just how important do you think could it be for the whole club just to get a win at home against one of the big boys so early on in the season in terms of confidence around the whole place?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, getting just a win, I don't know if that does anything. If we go out there and win 1-0 and we're not convincing in our performance, yeah, okay, we'll feel good for a couple of days, but that isn't going to give me any sort of real solace that we're heading in the right direction. Strong performance is what we're after. You know, obviously we want to win. I mean, that goes without saying. But you want to win on the back of playing our football, showing signs of progression from last week. You know, trying to impose our game against a really good opponent, and you win that way, and that's how you accelerate belief. But you know, we've got to you know, we can't be in a situation where there's a desperation just for a result, because then it goes against the grain of everything we're trying to build here. But we fully understand, and I certainly fully understand, that for a lot of people that's the only measure, and you've just got to accept that. But for me, tomorrow it's about a strong performance, progression from last week against a really, you know, good opponent, and hopefully that gives us that momentum to keep going.
George?
Angelo, I think the Tottenham fans have found it quite hard going to White Hart Lane in terms of the style of football from the past three managers. So are you just sort of going to entertain the Tottenham fans so that they're excited to come and see this team play? Is that your plan for the season?
My plan is to win. That's the only thing that kind of my focus is. But as I said before, you know, the way we play is important to that, and you know, we can't just sort of, you know, I understand that, you know, last year was a very, very difficult year, but, you know, this club's been in a, you know, pretty good shape for the last sort of X amount of time. You know, you can go back as far as you want. Okay, they haven't had the ultimate success, but they've been, you know, in the hardest league in the world, they've been a very, very good side. So I don't think the whole experience of the Tottenham supporters over the last few years has been that negative. You know, I just think of the backdrop of last year for sure. You know, but I don't want to sell them false hope. You know, this is not, they're not coming to, you know, they're not coming to a carnival. It's a football match, and they want to go home with the 3 points. But within that context, I want us to play football that does excite them for sure, and not just them, but I want everyone sort of talking about the way we play. And I think that's always been my sort of marker as to making an impact, and within that context, that takes us to the point where we have success. But you know, it's not, you know, I'm not. It's not about sort of making them happy. It's about giving them joy that comes from suffering, you know, and I mean, I'll say that because I listened to a podcast during the week and I just thought it was a great sort of description of what football is about. You know, it's not about being happy, because you actually suffer a game of football until that joyous moment when the ball goes in the net or you win the game, you know, and that's kind of, I thought, a nice way of sort of what I'm trying to do is just bring them joy, but understand there's going to be some suffering within that, you know.
What was the podcast?
It was Louis Theroux interviewing Australian singer. What's his name? Oh, escapes me now. Louis Theroux. It was a little bit deeper than that. Nothing against Peter Andre, obviously. He's a fantastic talent. But yeah, it just escapes me for the moment. Yeah.
It was a good podcast. You like Lou Theroux?
It was interesting. I like listening to things. I like reading things. If something sort of pops up that I sort of piques my interest, I'll always. You never stop learning, mate. You know, it's funny that. So, and the best way to do that is listen. Don't talk too much.
Thank you.
No, my pleasure.
Ali?
Sorry, I was just trying to cut podcast there. Mickey van der Ven mentioned earlier, he's got called up today for the Dutch side for the first time. How much does that vindicate his move to Spurs, and just how high do you think his ceiling is?
Look, we signed him because we believe that, you know, that he's got some great attributes and great profile and some great potential. But you know, I wouldn't go as far as to say one game, you know, sort of justifies all those things. Mickey knows that he's here to challenge himself for sure. He's here to improve. He's here to kind of hopefully develop into the defender that he wants to be, and we believe he can be, in the toughest possible environment. I mean, he only had 1 year in the Bundesliga, you know, and before that he was at Volendam. He wasn't like at one of the big Dutch clubs with respect to Volendam. So, you know, he's made some enormous leaps, and which was encouraging to me because it meant that this is another enormous leap that he'll be able to handle it. But you know, he'll be the first to say that one game is not what he came here for. You know, he's here to, like I said, to challenge himself. He's going to be facing some of the world's greatest strikers on a weekly basis. You know, and that'll be his challenge. But he's a willing learner. Like I said, he came with that mindset, and our role is to provide that environment now. That's our responsibility. We've taken the potential, now is to give him the environment to turn that potential into, you know, what he can be.
Ahead of tomorrow's match, Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust doing a demonstration outside the ground about increasing matchday ticket prices. Obviously now you're the man that's going to kind of provide what they're paying to watch, I guess, obviously from the sidelines. What do you make of all of that?
God, you know, I think my role within that is to, as you said, to make sure that the stuff I'm in control of, you know, they respond to in a positive way, because ultimately it's their football club, you know. So, to be fair, it's not unusual space for me. I mean, I know people talk about the treble I won at Celtic, but the beginnings of Celtic were very similar, you know. There was, there's a lot going on and off the field at the time, and it's only natural when football clubs have a disappointing period that there's going to be that kind of environment where there is going to be people unhappy. But my role within that is, like I said, to hopefully get people to focus on what we're all here for, and that is the football club and the players and the team and having success. And there's no doubt that we'll get there quicker if we're united, on and off the field, absolutely. But I've never, and I never will, tell people how to feel or how they should behave in terms of the context of expressing, their emotions. I think, that's their right. They've earned that right to do that. And my role in that is to try and produce a team that hopefully gets us united to what's most important.
Very different topic. Dane Scarlett, I just wondered what your plans are for this season. Is he going to stay with you and develop, or go away maybe and develop somewhere else?
Yeah, we'll just see. He's been really good. I've been really impressed with him since I've come in. He had a bit of an injury which set him back a little bit pre-season. So, but we're keeping him with us at the moment. I'll probably make a decision on Dane sort of to the next couple of weeks about whether it's always a fine balancing act whether they stay with us in the training environment. Depending on sort of game time we think they'll get, as opposed to going out and getting some meaningful game time at his age. So we'll make that decision, but I'm really happy with the way he's developed, the way he's the way he's training, and we'll make that decision over the next sort of week or so.
Okay, last couple of this section, Charlie and then George, please.
Obviously, you've watched a huge amount of Premier League already, but was there anything that surprised you from actually managing the game last week?
Well, we didn't start because there was a lack of water.
Other than the sanitation issues.
So there's the first for you, and that's the beauty. That's the beauty of football. It doesn't matter how long I've been in it. There's always something new. No, look, aside from that, not really. I mean, it was like I said, the game was okay. There was a fair bit going on, particularly in that first half, and my sort of view of that was that like I said, I was really pleased with the way we responded to what happened. But it was still a game of football, mate, where you're trying to prepare a team and then sort of hopefully seeing the things that you've worked on and the information you've given come to fruition in some way, shape or form. And that was the focus on the day. I can see why it's a difficult place to go and win games. They create. It's obviously a small, tight ground. They create a really good atmosphere. They get behind their team, and they're a very well organised, structured side. But we kind of knew that going into it.
How different then would it be playing United tomorrow? A team, Brentford are a very well organised team defensively. Maybe don't attack as much as some teams. How different will the challenge be tomorrow?
Yeah, it'll be different. But I think every sort of game's different. I think you kind of look at teams, and the first thing you try and identify is there a sort of real sort of pattern in the way they play, and usually that's on the back of how long they've been doing it that way in the manager. And obviously with Brentford, Thomas has been there for quite a while, so you can see it's firmly ingrained in their players and in their methodology. And I think it's the same with Eric now. He's kind of in that period where the players are slowly grasping again. You can see there's a consistency in the way they do things, and that's what you kind of first thing you try and identify. So the challenge is different, but is it well established, or is it something that's new, or something that's a different direction? And I said that it'll be a different challenge, but no less challenging, as I said, because they've got a team that's sort of been working on it for a fair while now.
How hard is it as well to get the balance right between, obviously you want to focus on what you're doing at Spurs being the protagonist in the game, but also accepting that you do need to be conscious of what the opponents do?
I think you always do that, but my fallback position on that is, particularly in these early stages, it's still got to be about us. I think if we focus too much on negating the opposition, then we're not really building. What we're doing again is surviving, and again there's a desperation around the result, which I understand. Like I said, that's some people's only measure, but I'd much rather focus on can we impose our game style on a very good opponent. That's got to be our ambition tomorrow. that's where we're going to lean towards, rather than sort of, spending too much time or focusing too much on what an opposition, potentially has to offer, or where they can hurt us.
George?
Hi, Ange. You just mentioned then that you almost don't feel worthy of the fans' support so far. At the start of last weekend's game, then it was singing your name for a long time, 3-4 minutes. How much did that mean to you?
Yeah, it means a lot, but like I said, I'm not comfortable with it because and you love what it means, because it's, for the most part, it's just blind faith. I haven't yet delivered anything. Hopefully when the day comes that we deliver as a team, then you kind of, it means something different then. But I don't dismiss it either, because that's, like I said, that's people taking a huge leap of faith on me as an individual, and I appreciate that. But it also, it's a really good reminder of the responsibility I have. I've got to pay that back. That faith and support that at the moment is on the back of very little. We've got to start producing stuff that's substantial, so we kind of take that credit when it's deserved.
And just with the fans' process, the fans made a conscious effort to do that outside the stadium a couple of hours before the match. The plan is to make the atmosphere inside the stadium as good as possible, so it doesn't affect the players. How much do you appreciate that they're sort of separating the two issues and supporting the players whilst also having their moment?
Yeah, I mean, it is important. As I said earlier, I think ultimately with all these things, the first thing you kind of question is the motive of why people are doing it, and that's something I can't answer because I wasn't here. So like I said, I can't tell people how to feel, but like I said, what I do know is if we are united, and as a football club, supporters, everyone involved in and out of the club, during those 90 minutes, or 120 minutes, depending on how much extra time we have, it gives us our best chance of success, and ultimately that's why we all do it, for all, you can, in every family you can have disagreements, but you come together, hopefully at the dinner table, and sort of, embrace the fact that, we are a family, and we're going to need our supporters tomorrow for sure, but our role in that is to give them something to get excited about.
Just finally, Hugo is still at the club. Is there much change in that situation? Does it feel like he's closer to final?
Yeah, look, I'm not really across it. Like I said, with the outgoings, I'm not for any other reason that I have very little control over it, and also, my focus has to be on sort of, what's in front of us right now. He's obviously training, but I think with all these things, I'm assuming that over as we get close to the window, they'll all sort of accelerate, I expect.